yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore. Hell yes, hell yes, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15. Hell yes, your AK-47. Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15.
Oh, hell no!
Hell yes, we're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore.
Hell yes, everybody. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel, and hell no to the Democrats, folks. They are a bunch of sick bastards. We're going to talk about why you need to be prepared, what is coming, what's on your mind, and hey, get your questions down below because I want to talk about what you have noticed today. It is Monday. It is the afternoon show on the Prepared Mind channel on subscribestar.com and the preparedmind.club. We have a lot to cover, folks, so let's get into it. But please get your questions below. Mr. Ooman will check you in, put you in line, and we'll talk about it. I want to start off with a quote for you, though. Okay, it's a quote. I want you to think about who could have possibly said this. Quote, I am firmly of the belief that the future will show that the whole hysteria over climate change was a complete fabrication. Was it Trump? Was it Ronald Reagan? Was it Adolf Hitler? Was it John D. Rockefeller? No, 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 and no, folks. It was the co-founder of Greenpeace. That's right, the co-founder of Greenpeace, Dr. Patrick Moore. All right, I wanted to start out with that. Surprise! And here's a not so surprised. How toxic, how anti-American, how racist, how hate-filled are Black Lives Matter and the Democrats. I want you to understand what they think of you. And trust me, the word white is going to be in here, but it also means black people that love America. Just understand that if you're black, you're not in the clear. No free passes for you if you love America. Now, this is what Black Lives Matter, Antifa, Palestinians, and Democrats, this is what they think of you, period. Every white person who supports BLM, folks, they have been brainwashed with white guilt and hatred and anger. Literally, on the news, this bitch named Yusra Kogali, and she's a BLM leader. She says whites, meaning white people and black Americans that love America, whites are subhuman genetic defects. Whites are subhuman genetic defects. Now, never mind that the dumb, retarded, out of her fucking mind, idiotic, imbecilic, moronic asshat is completely wrong. Understand that this is the attitude they have. They will have an abortion if the baby has a genetic defect. Any excuse to have an abortion. So if they would abort a preborn human, what do you think they would do to you and me if they had their way? They consider us a genetic defect. So clearly, I'm not human. Because she said subhuman genetic defects. Of course, this idiot is part of the crowd that believes that every invention in the modern world has come from Africa. Unbelievable. Now, folks, these people are dangerous beyond belief. Have you seen all the mean tweets today on X / formerly Twitter? It has to do with the Haitians, the illegal Haitians. And folks, Kamala Harris says she invited 20,000 of them into our country because they need support. You know what these Haitian immigrants are doing that are here illegally, unlawfully, without permission, rather by law? Permission from Kamala is not by law. Well, they're going to parks and they're killing ducks, they're killing geese. And they're going through neighborhoods and killing cats and dogs and eating them. Eating them. They need support. They've been brought here. They've been given clothes, a place to live, and food. But that ain't good enough. They need to kill your fucking pets. Kill public wildlife. Don't worry. Your thinking is wrong. You are wrong if you condemn the Haitians. You're wrong if you condemn these racist black dipshits. You are wrong if you criticize the moronic Hamas Palestinians. You are the bad person, folks. And trust me, there's a re-education camp coming for you. Doubt me not. I'll fill you in, folks. Shit is hit the fan? You bet. The only thing stopping Camel Toes the whore Harris, and she has earned that name. The only thing stopping her is there's an election season right now, and even Bernie Sanders, an avowed, dyed-in-the-wool communist, Senator Bernie Sanders, said that Kamala is saying what she needs to say to get elected. But as soon as she is in office, she will slam America with Marxist ideology and, trust me on this, folks, unconstitutional, anti-Bill of Rights, shit, gun confiscation, free speech silencing, thrown in jails. Oh, you think I'm wrong? Right? Cruel and unusual punishment in prison. You want to talk about cruel and unusual punishment? How about people who are arrested in 2021 after January 6th? They're still sitting in jail rotting with no trial. How is that a quick and speedy trial? How is it the conditions they're in are not cruel and unusual punishment? How is the Constitution even being remotely taken into account in Washington, D.C.? Fuck D.C. Folks, I am blisteringly pissed off. Now, back to you and me in re-education camps, right? Right now, in the January 6th political prison, the American Bastille, the American Gulag, guess what? They are forcing the January 6th political prisoners to endure. They are being forced to undergo re-education. That's it, folks. They are re-educating. In other words, they're programming their minds. They are forcing on them the concept and making them listen to it and think about it day after day after day, that Trump is a threat to democracy. Our fucking country is not a democracy. It is a republic. A republic has fundamental, foundational rules, and the rest of the country is built on those rules. A democracy is they can change anything at any time with a majority vote. We don't have a democracy. This is communist mind control shit they're doing, folks. And that is exactly what Kamala has in mind for you and me if and when she wins. If and when she wins. You think this isn't war? You think that shit hasn't hit the fan? Just because it hasn't come and knocked on your door, slammed you upside the head, completely erased your bank account, sent you a bill in the mail saying you need to give everything you have to someone else. Just because we haven't got that far yet, just because there aren't people being murdered in your driveway, just because your kids are not being raped in the street, doesn't mean shit hasn't hit the fan. But that is precisely what they have in mind for you and me. Period. You think they've reached the pinnacle of their ungodliness and evil? Not even fucking close. We said back in 2020, shit has hit the fan when they announced the COVID lockdowns. And I said, no, that's not the end of it. It's just the beginning. It's going to get worse. Far, far worse. And if Trump wins, if and when Trump wins, things will not get better. They will continue to fight. In fact, they may become more violent. More violent, folks. Let me give you an example of political leadership. A Swiss politician who also happens to be a stinking, filthy, disgusting Muslim jihadist. She posted videos of herself shooting the Virgin Mary, Jesus, and also baby Jesus. Well, thankfully, the whore has resigned from party leadership. I don't know if she's resigned her office, but she's resigned because of what? Because people like you and me in Switzerland were outraged and demanded she step down. I think she should be prosecuted for a hate crime. Sure, why not? If Switzerland has hate crimes, sounds like a hate crime to me. It's not like she's a Christian shooting the Virgin Mary and Jesus. She's an anti-Christian. She is anti-Christ, this piece of shit woman. You know, I have never taken a Quran and torn the cover off or torn out the pages or set fire or thrown it in a toilet. I have done nothing of the sort. I have left their holy relics and images of Muhammad alone. Right? The religion off to the side. I'll talk about the people, the adherents of the religion that are violating other people's rights and making life uncomfortable for everyone else and threatening the world with their violence, right? Rape, theft, murder, genocide. I'll talk about that all day, but I haven't attacked their symbols, but perhaps I should, right? If they can do it to us, we need to do it to them. But folks, in my world, the world I live in up there, right? I don't have this problem with people doing shit like that in the street. No one wearing keffiyehs, no one blocking traffic, trying to pray in the middle of the fucking street. Well, I would call that an attempted kidnapping effort on their part and run their asses over. This is Florida, after all. You cannot block traffic and threaten people. Oh, good God, folks. I tell you. Oh, by the way, down in Brazil, we know that the government there said no more X, no more Twitter, no more of that. It's illegal. You go on there, we'll fine you thousands of whatever Brazil has for money, whether it's fucking pesos or doleros, I don't know, pazuzas. But they're not done. Free speech is not over. They have now made Rumble. That's right. Rumble is another one like BitChute, YouTube, etc. Rumble is no longer available in Brazil. You bet. It's another direct attack on free speech, freedom of expression, freedom, period. Freedom of thought. I mean, imagine this. Freedom of thought is obstructed when someone says you can't talk. Free speech is under direct attack 100%. But get this. Elon Musk, whatever you think of him, whatever you think of Tesla cars or his batteries and solar, or whatever you think of Tesla's rockets, well, he also has his satellites. And he is going to beam Starlink data streams into Brazil at no charge. Since Brazilians aren't allowed to transfer money into Starlink or Twitter or anything Elon Musk, he'll just make his satellites available for free. I think that's fucking hilarious. He's fighting the fight, folks, with money. War takes money. War takes effort. And the fight is on. It is. And folks, it's not going to get better. All right. Now I want to go to the Pfizer files and let's do this, right? Let's play Take a Wild Guess. All right. Darcy T found this, got it to me. An 18-year-old football player, a super athlete, a young man, age 18. Guess what happened to him? He collapsed during a game and he died. Suddenly, all of a sudden, health issue, life-threatening, dead. And you know what did it? You know what caused it? I don't know either. Take a wild guess, right? No cause was provided. Of course not. They can't tell us anymore. They can't tell us. They will not tell us. 18-year-old Florida high school football player dies. I saw a picture of him. The guy looks more like he's not 18, but 38. Still, super athlete. Now, folks, the reason the part about Florida is so important is in Florida, it's hot as fuck. Right? To be an athlete in Florida, you've got to be in good shape, withstanding heat, pressure, right? Humidity. If you're an athlete during the summer and it's the hot time of year down here, you're in good shape. Now, I can't say that the heat killed him because he's been playing down here, I'm sure, his whole life. But it's not like he was a Canadian football player who traveled to Florida to play in a game and then died. Then I might go, okay, the poor son of a gun came from Canada, is not used to heat, humidity, and he keeled over. That would be a shock to the system, right? But that's not really what happened. He's a young man, super athlete, dead. And while we're on the Let's Play, take a wild guess. A Prepared Mind subscriber who's been with us a long time had, well, the Jim Jones juice and its consequences hit very close to home. Very close to home. I have to change the names to keep the innocent protected. So here's the message sent from the Prepared Mind subscriber. He says, well, take a wild guess. My friend's older brother, who is in his early 30s, just died Wednesday night. Suddenly. He had a blood clot in the brain. Must have been a hell of a clot to cause death. The whole family was jabbed with the Jim Jones juice. I guess we kind of figured that. You know, it kind of, if you know they were fully jabbed, well, I guess we'll take a wild guess and say perhaps it was the mRNA toxicity. Crazy world out there, folks, right now. An extremely screwed up world. Thank you, Uman, for passing that one along so I could read that as well. Put that into the Pfizer files. And for now, the moment, we're done with the Pfizer files. It's too bad you can't just have a bowel movement and get all the stuff out of you. It's too bad you can't just have your blood drawn and have that shit sucked out of it. I don't know. Maybe you could go on a kidney dialysis machine and have that shit removed. It's bad news, folks. Anything having to do with a needle passing through my skin scares the shit out of me. Anyways, let's continue with this. Let's dive into the economy, if we shall. Dive into the economy. Russia. What is it that the Russian government knows? What are they aware of? Well, let me tell you this. Russia has increased its daily gold purchases 700%. 7 times bigger than they normally have, and they just announced this. The dollar equivalent is Russia will be buying $100 million in gold every day for the next 60 days. What does Russia know and why are they buying gold? I mean, hey, Warren Buffett, one of the richest men on the planet, one of the most successful investors of all time. Warren Buffett says gold is a pet rock. Well, that's a rock I would like to pet more of. Unfortunately, it's just not in the cards for me. I will not be having any giant rocks made out of gold. But Russia is doing just that. And Trump is very worried. He's saying that if and when he's elected, he will put a 100% tariff, massive tariffs, or just stop trade altogether with any country that doesn't trade using the United States Federal Reserve petrodollar. Unfortunately for Mr. Trump, I don't think that that's going to stick. I think that's the exact reason that the rest of the world is throwing away dollars, bonds, treasury notes, T-bills, what have you. They're not going to loan the U.S. government money to get U.S. dollars to spend on other things in other countries using this money. They're not going to do it because for the precise reason they're being punished by the United States, the central bank, and then the European bank system. They've had enough. The world is done. That's why this BRICS union has come about. Now, I do like nationalism, and I think we should protect ourselves. But the thing called the world reserve currency that the United States has enjoyed, it's been called a lot of names. One of them is it's an exorbitant privilege, and it has allowed America to print money, print dollars off a printing press without backing it with anything other than the promise of the United States government and the Treasury and the Federal Reserve. The only promise they have is they'll print more of them. And there's no cost to it. Whereas the country, if they want those dollars, has to provide a finished product or raw materials to the United States. So they've been trading basically paper that is becoming more and more worthless with inflation. Hell, 10% to 15% this year alone, our money has been devalued. It is not a store of value. It is a currency. Gold is a store of value. Silver is a store of value. Gold is not a store of value. Okay, now this one made me happy. I have to give you guys a little bit of good news here. A comedian confronted Nancy 90 proof Pelosi, a conservative comedian. He pretended to be a Democrat, and then he heckled Nancy Pelosi about her stock trading expertise. And he had to be forcefully, physically taken and thrown out of the presence of her highness, her high ass. I think it may have been chin music on the scene. I do. I think chin music, he got there. My thing, though, is be more like a free American should be. Be loud. Be aggressive. We are at war. We are at war. Hey, Democrats say they're at war. We are at war. Folks, get this. If Russia was invading the East Coast and China was invading the West Coast and we were being overrun by Chinese and Russians, would you say we're at war? Even if Kamala Harris and the Democrats sat in Washington and went, we're not going to fight back. We're not going to fight back. Would we still be at war? Cerveza sneeze. Yeah, we would still be at war. We just wouldn't be fighting back. Well, if you aren't fighting back, it doesn't matter. To the Democrats, the war is on and they're fighting. They're invading. They're attacking. They're allowing our country to be infiltrated, invaded, and us, me, you, the people. Even our fucking pets aren't safe anymore. I mean, I don't know what it takes to piss off Americans. Women are being raped, murdered, kidnapped. They're being smuggled out of the country, human trafficking. Children are being attacked and raped. Children, underage children. Girls and boys. Animals are being kidnapped and eaten, slaughtered. People are being threatened, abused, beaten, robbed. And Kamala Harris actually said today that she's proud of it. She's proud of it. We are at war.
There are public figures today, yesterday, and the day before predicting and all but calling for mass violence and rioting in the streets.
Obviously, Republicans, I think, are the biggest threat to democracy. We don't separate right-wing extremists and Republican Party anymore. Republicans, I think, are the biggest threat to democracy. We don't separate right-wing extremists and Republican Party anymore. Republicans are the biggest threat to democracy.
This means war. That is where we are. We are at war with these people. These folks are evil.
And all but calling for mass violence and rioting in the streets.
This means war.
You wanted to think you need to have weapons to take on the government. You need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons.
We are at war with these people.
They are at war. You better be as well. We've been talking about quite a bit here. We have an invading force that's been turned loose on us. They are literally eating our country alive. They're threatening everybody They want to re-education camp all of us. Right now, those men, those women that have been arrested are in the Washington, D.C. Bastille Gulag political prison. They are experimenting on them right now. They're figuring out what needs to be said, how often it needs to be said, and how it needs to be said to brainwash them. To brainwash them, folks. That's what they're up to. They're training themselves. They're figuring out what technique works the best because they need to get you and me. Fuck it. Let's leave you out of it. They want me in a political prison. They want to brainwash me. They want to attack me. They want to convert my thinking and make me spout their sick, evil filth and come back on this channel and say those words to you. Do you believe that's what Democrats would like? Oh, trust me, they would love it. Read the book 1984. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They would love to put me on a banner and say, this guy supported Trump, but he's learned his evil ways needed to be changed. And so he re-educated himself. Maybe you should too, right? Give me a fucking break. These people are out of their minds, folks. They are. But the fight is on. People are awake in America and around the world. In fact, in Hungary, the prime minister there, Viktor Orban, he is now going to put illegal immigrants that have managed to get into Hungary, he's going to put them on buses and send them to Brussels, the Euro trash globalist capital of Europe. He's going to go dump them on their doorstep. And this is what he said. If you want them, you can have them. And I say this to Viktor Orban. I say this to Mr. Fico in Slovakia. Good. Fight back. Poland, for all their stupidity and fucking moronic, idiot, dumbass, dangerous ass World War III provocations with Russia, as much as they want to go to war with Russia, literally, Poland will not allow a single immigrant from a third world shithole into their country. They're not allowing it. They're not allowing it. I say don't send them to Brussels. I say send them to Davos, Switzerland. Switzerland is not neutral, folks. No more neutral Switzerland. Because a bunch of these billionaire cocksuckers in Switzerland, they've got their gold buried deep in the mountains, folks. Literally, mines are dug into mountains and caved and hollowed out so they can pack their gold in there that they are collecting, that they are amassing, that they are saving. Switzerland, sorry. You allow these fuckers from Davos, right? Davos is just a city, but all of these globalist anti-freedom assholes into your country, that's the same as harboring terrorists, in my opinion, because they are terrorists. All of these Davos douches, the World Economic Forum, are terrorists. They do bioterrorism. That would be COVID and their shots. They do military terrorism, starting wars, funding them to profit. Social terrorism, turning loose these third world scum on everyone else, but they won't allow it anywhere near them. I think these illegals should be sent to Davos. I think that would be just fine. I tell you, I get pissed off. There's a lot more to talk about here, but once again, I have run out of time in my monologue, and I'll be respectful of you guys. Plus, I have lots more to talk about just in case you are out of stuff to talk about. And then an interesting story, an interesting thing happened today that is also a positive bit of news about the United States Marine Corps. And it's really good because I got to personally experience it. Let's do this. Let's bounce over to you guys. It is time for the Inner Circle. Oakley dokley. Unbelievable. Mr. Uman I think that maybe you've got some thoughts, some questions and comments. What do we have rolling? What do we want to discuss? And Mikey G asked this strange question. Is the 5G waking everyone at 3 a.m.? You know, Mikey, I wake up to take a leak in the middle of the night. Sometimes it's 11:30, sometimes it's 2:30, sometimes it's 4. I don't know. I don't know if 5G makes you have to go to the bathroom. Sometimes I only wake up once or twice. Other times it's 3 or 4 times. So I can't blame 5G. But I can't say that I'm happy about the reports I've read about 5G. 5G meaning cell tower service. I know that some countries have outlawed it. A lot of people don't like it. They set the towers on fire. As much of a convenience as cell data and the internet are, I would just assume live without it. I don't know how I would do business today the way they did 30 years ago, 40 years ago in construction. I call people all day long and I set appointments and have inspections and call subcontractors and material suppliers from a phone all day long. I would have to drive to stores. I would have to make calls at night and meet people. It'd be pretty rough, I think, pretty rough. But for better health for myself and others, I think it just might be worth it to do such a thing. And maybe go to the office, spend an hour on the phone, make phone calls, leave messages to subcontractors and say, meet me tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe that would work. But I don't know if it's waking me up, and I don't know how unhealthy it is, Mikey, but I have to say it's a concern of mine. Thank you for bringing the topic up. It's something that I continue to look at and try and figure out. And when I see cell towers, Mikey, they don't make me feel good and warm and fuzzy all over. No, they don't. They don't. But they're there. And at the moment, I'm not willing to chop them down. But I wonder just how unhealthy are these for all of us. Thank you, Mikey, very much. Mr. Uman, what else do we want to discuss? I know there's a lot out there. I'm pretty sure you have something to say, too. But first, let's go to Diving Frog Man. He says, John, I saw Black Hawk helicopters heading west yesterday and today. Any thoughts with all the BS going on? I'll tell you what, Alex Jones, back in the 90s even, helped popularize the notion that black helicopters out there are nefarious government agencies flying around basically in unmarked aerial vehicles, helicopters, and even planes. But black helicopters, they don't have markings, tail numbers, designations as to whether they're state, federal, civilian or not. And so they're scary. Who are these black helicopters? I appreciate the fact that they were brought to everyone's attention. And for a while, the world was very fearful of them. And when I see helicopters, I tend to have a little bit of a PTSD moment. Because when helicopters of the military sort fly in, bad things are happening. Crazy things are happening. Things are exploding. Ammunition's flying. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting feeling. I'm like, those are the good guys, and then I freak out. That's not that bad, though. I'm not like a fucking cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in my head or anything. It just gets my attention when I see military helicopters. But shit, while we're on the topic, I told you that, I had shall we say, quite a conversation today with someone in the military, active duty Marine. So today I had a phone call with an active duty captain in the United States Marine Corps. And it was a lively conversation. And it started out down here. But as we went through the conversation, Am I good, Uman? Okay, thank you. Fucking trying to freeze on me, wasn't it? Did you see it freezing, Uman? Did you see the screen go shitty? Anyways, I had a good talk with this captain. We talked about freedom, liberty, the Constitution, what matters most. He was a very intelligent gentleman, of course, being an officer. He has a college degree, so it's a different level of thinking, a different type of thinking. And I wanted to know and hear what he had to say, what's inside his head. And it was the things that you and I would hope that military officers have. It's the type of thing we would hope that military officers keep it in their mind. America is beautiful. America is great. America and freedom that's it. Without it, everything else is gone. And that was the attitude that he had. Now, a captain, he's not a general. He's not at the Pentagon, right? But it was reported over the weekend that military officers are highly partisan and have leftist ideology. Highly partisan and have leftist ideology.
Well, looks like we're back at it with the camera problems. John is just logging out and logging back in here, so let's see if we get him back. There you are.
Thank you, Uman. I appreciate you stepping up.
Take it back.
All right. It's funny. I start having this discussion about the military and their attitudes, right? Whoops. I don't know. I mean, they could cancel any portion of the show and go, see, that pisses them off. Why is this happening? I don't know. Anyways, back to the story. So this captain, very much an American. He is not infantry. He wasn't military intelligence. But he was in, what, it's hard to explain if you're not in the military, right? They manage people, officers. And it was great to hear and see. And I think a great deal of our officers, our officer corps from probably lieutenant colonel down, they won't make it to colonel and, of course, the ranks of general if you don't politically fit. Again, this highly partisan and leftist ideology, this culture within the officer corps at the highest levels has been started by Barack Obama, and it's been increased through Biden's tenure in the White House. They are unabashedly anti-conservative and they're anti-Trump. But I think that the units out there, especially in the Marine Corps, the units are patriotic. I would even say in the Army as well, especially in the infantry, that those men and women that serve in those positions and those officers, they're not willing to put their lives on the line for some stinking, worthless bullshit, pseudo-intellectual, wannabe retarded economic and social program like communism. Why would anyone want to die for that shit? Well, most communists don't want to die for their cause, folks. They want you to die for their cause. They want to push you in the way. So that's why you won't see a whole lot of, you won't see a whole lot of these people in the infantry units because they're actually fucking cowards. Anyways, it was quite interesting. So Black Hawk helicopters, I don't know. I am wary of any gunship that is flying around until I know who they're shooting at. But I tell you what, folks, when you see a helicopter light something up, it's something to behold. When you see a tank or armored personnel carrier light up the enemy or a target, it wakes you the hell up because it is raw power and force that is exerted. Until you've been in it and seen it and lived it, or actually been the person pulling the trigger, it's kind of a different thing. When you see it in person, it is staggering. There we go. Yes, I figured that, Uman. I appreciate that very much. Anyways, thank you, Mr. Diving Frog, for bringing up the black helicopters, Black Hawk. I still love the Hueys the most. The thump, thump, thump of a Huey puts me to sleep. Makes me relax. Makes me a happy boy. I love a good Huey. Anyways, let us continue if we shall. Mr. Uman, we got Mikey G. And he says the scientific analysis of the embalmer's clots is starting to leak out slowly. What? Mikey continues, but the scientists are remaining unknown to avoid retribution and backlash. What is Mikey talking about? Let's go back to his first statement. Embalmer's clots. What is he talking about? Well, embalmers, people who prepare cadavers, dead bodies for funerals, for open casket funerals. They have to perform the practice of embalming. They need to remove all the blood and tissue out of the body that could cause foulness, right? So they pump bodies full of embalming fluid, preservatives, in other words. But they discovered, these embalmers, that, well, if there's giant clots in the arteries and veins, they can't get the blood out and they can't get their fluid in. So in order to do their job properly, and I hate to be talking about this morbid topic, but I think it's important. They need to go in and surgically remove the clots out of the veins. And what they discovered is there's not just little clots here and there, but they're pulling out what I would call viciously nasty clots that look like packed toilet paper inside people's bodies. No wonder people are dying, having heart attacks, pulmonary embolisms, failure, cerebral aneurysms. Their legs, right? Their arms, their chests, full of clots. Why? Well, there's a reason we call it the clot shot, the Jim Jones juice. So these embalmers, they're taking pictures and video, and they're keeping these clots, right? Because they're scientific specimens. What the hell's going on? What changed starting in 2021? Yeah, actually starting in 2020 under Trump. But their analysis and material, it's supplied to scientists who study these clots, and they're starting to say, hey, this is being caused by the Jim Jones juice. And by the way, they've got this year's COVID-19 vaccination ready for not you. No, it's ready and it's going to be coming out there. And the Democrats, I hope they line up and take all they can. Hey, Democrats, go get your Jim Jones juice right now. Get 2 or get 3, because Trump will probably take it all away. You need to get more. If a little is good, more must be better. You bet. Go get your clot shots, you bunch of fucking dumbasses. Anyways, the scientific analysis, in other words, the scientists take the clots to their laboratory. They study them. They figure out what they're composed of, and what trying to determine what caused them, what they're made out of, how the body creates them. Is the body getting rid of them? Right? They can do a complete analysis of them. Scientific analysis. Remember, trust the science, right? And once they have enough data, they've studied them, they can start coming to conclusions like, I think these things are bad. Well, obviously. Thanks, Captain Obvious Scientist. And I think these things come from the vaccine. Well, thank you, Captain Obvious. But the scientists don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want to be attacked socially, economically. They don't want to be attacked by their coworkers, kicked out of their fields of study. So they're trying to be quiet. They fear retribution from big pharmacy. They're afraid they could lose their scientific license to practice the the art and science of lying, I guess. Look out. Yeah, nobody likes to stick their neck out, folks. But I'll tell you what, right? The only way to make a change is to take a chance. Now, there's an old saying out there, faint heart never won fair maiden. Right? So if you have a weak heart, you're a sissy, you're never going to get the girl. You'll never get the girl. Faint heart never won fair maiden. You've got to be brave. This has really nothing to do with romantic relationships. It has to do with if you don't take a chance, if you don't take the risk, if you don't stick your neck out, if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall. And you'll fall for anything. You've got to stand for something. You got to put up a fight at some point. If you keep waiting for someone else to do it for you, it'll never get done. And someone will come and punch your fucking ticket. Be they a Haitian or a Palestinian or a Venezuelan or a Moroccan. It is not the time in world and American history to sit back, be apathetic and weak, uneducated, and unwilling to stand up for yourself in America. Because understand this, folks. Understand that these radical jihad Joes are here in America. Right? Radical Islamic terrorism is here in America. And a Pakistani man was just arrested for what? For plotting the slaughter of American Jews. Another one arrested. They're arresting some here and some there. But how many millions of them are there? So I have that's great news. They captured this Pakistani immigrant, and he was planning on slaughtering Jewish Americans. Are you surprised? I'm not. Let's see. That's 1 out of 20 million. So what is that? 0.00000001 got caught. What about the rest of them that are still out there? Are they plotting? Are they too stupid to plot? They're just going to act. They're going to go get a machete. First they'll eat your cat, and then they'll come after your wife, your daughter, you. They're crazy, folks. They're absolutely crazy. The people that are coming after us are crazy. They're nuts. In fact, you've heard about the Venezuelan gangs. They've taken over apartments and apartment complexes and homes in Chicago, Aurora, Colorado, Dallas, Texas. Well, they're not done there. No, they want to fuck you up. You know how they do it? In Texas, guess what they've started doing? Going out into the oil fields, these Venezuelan gangs, and they have guns. Surprise, surprise. I wonder if these guns are the ones that Barack Obama and Eric Holder, his attorney general, sent south of the border to give to drug lords and gangs so that they would use them in violent crimes and then blame Americans in America and then declare guns illegal to have in America. Operation Fast and Furious. So now we have armed Venezuelan gangs back in our country. And guess what they're doing? In our oil fields, the source of energy, oil, energy, oil, energy, oil, prosperity, oil, comfort, oil, low prices. The cost and value of energy, the more it goes up, the more expensive shit gets. The less oil costs, the less everything else costs because of it. Mining, production, right? Refining, manufacturing, transportation to get the goods to us. The higher the cost of energy, the higher the cost of the product. Now, these Venezuelan gangs are going into Texas. They're stealing oil. They're stealing copper wire. They're assaulting workers in the oil fields. Now, I've got a problem with this statement right here. Roughnecks, people who work on oil rigs, drilling rigs, anyone who drills a frickin' hole in the planet's a roughneck. They didn't get called roughnecks because they're pussies. They're called roughnecks because they're fucking rough. They are nasty, filthy men who work their asses off for a good wage. But if they've got a wrench and a terrorist has a gun, I guess you don't bring a wrench to a gunfight, right? You don't bring a chain to a gunfight. So that's what we got. Gangs are taking guns and going out in the oil fields. I'll tell you what, the foremen on these jobs ought to be fucking armed. And the moment someone steps out of a vehicle with a gun, they're brandishing a weapon. They are threatening the lives of you and your men. These fucking roughnecks better rough the fuck up. And if someone shows up with guns, that means they plan on using them and threatening your life and taking your life. You need to start defending yourselves. Obey the law. Check with your local law enforcement before taking any rash actions. But defending yourself is never a bad idea. Never is it a bad idea. But here we are. They're not getting nicer. They're not getting better. Folks, it's getting screwier every single day. Now, while we're on Texas, I'm sorry I'm taking all the time up here, man. Sorry. There's just so much to talk about. We need to wake up. As a people, we need to wake up and start acting. Like I said, I commend Chin Music for giving these wimps and cowards a hard time, for insulting and triggering these left-wing crybabies and wimps. I mean, all he has to do is wear a liberal suck shirt, and he's applauded by patriots, and he's actually being asked, where do I get a shirt like that? Because it's awesome. Do it, folks. Speak up, act up. If you don't want to say the words, wear a shirt that says liberal sucks. Liberals suck. Kamala sucks it. They all do. Right? 90 Proof Nancy sucks alcohol. These fucking fruit salad ding-dongs, folks, they're just plain old evil. Let's do this. Let's get some more things from you guys you want to talk about. What's on your mind? Mr. Uman, who's next? And it is Uman himself. And he says this, apparently they found some retired generals to blame Trump for the Afghanistan withdrawal, alleging that he, Trump, set them up to fail. I find that hard to believe. You see, the fight in Afghanistan started under President Bush during his tenure as president. George W. Bush I can't stand that guy. Then we got 8 years of Barack Obama, 4 years of Trump, and now we've had almost 4 years of Biden. But everything, of course, is Trump's fault. Does that sound like the claim of an intelligent human being, an intelligent military man? I doubt it. They're generals that are retired. And of course, by saying, well, that's a general, you should, you should listen to them. They know what they're talking about. That's appealing to authority. Just because they're a general doesn't mean they know jack shit about anything. Before there were diversity, equity, and inclusion hires, there were DEI hires. Before there were DEI hires, there were who is your daddy and what does he do hires. In other words, you get the job, you get hired, you get promoted because of your name, your family, some rich person. So a lot of these fucking generals are generals in name only. Now, set them up to fail. Well, if Trump can set things up for fail, can't the next president restore things to success? Now, I do know that in Afghanistan, the Taliban took over, that Joe Biden cut a deal with them and gave them $86 billion worth of equipment. Oh, don't forget that the people of Maui got $700 after having their homes burned, their cars burned, their stores burned, their neighborhoods burned, their schools burned to the fucking ground, literally destroyed, and they got $700. $700, that's 2 nights in a hotel in Hawaii. And that's if you're buying a cheap hotel. The fuck are they going to do with $700? But they gave $86 billion in equipment, military equipment. But it's Trump's fault. Unbelievable, folks. And then Biden, of course, had multiple Americans stranded, left behind, kidnapped, killed, raped, murdered, sold into slavery, and just disappeared off the planet because no one was given a chance to evacuate. No one was told. Just Biden just said, here you go, have all this shit. That's your country again. Unfucking believable. Thank you, Mr. Uman. Yep. It's Trump's fault. Everything is Trump's fault. Folks, one of the rules of leadership is that when you're in the position of leadership, the buck stops here. Right? If you're the leader, you're responsible. Things go good, you get the credit. Things go bad, you get the blame. You get the blame. But this is the type of thing you should expect from Democrats. They will attack you, kill you, arrest you, imprison you, re-educate you, work you to death, lie to you, steal from you, cheat, because that's what they do. In fact, get this. A Democrat commissioner, well, he was a commissioner nominee, Democrat commissioner nominee in Texas, staged a hate crime and tried to frame a Republican opponent. Well, this jackass extraordinaire has been arrested and indicted for trying to stage a hate crime. This Smollett, this Jussie Smollett wannabe, is a Democrat. That's what they do. Literally staging a hate crime to make someone else look bad and have them arrested. Right? This wannabe Smollett should join the other lying racist sacks of shit like, well, Bubba Wallace, who had a small rope on a garage door with a loop in the end of it so you can grab it and shut the door. He called it a noose. He called it a noose. What a fucking pussy, Bubba Wallace. And other lying Democrats like Jean E. Carroll, who claimed that Trump raped her. With zero evidence, zero proof, zero witnesses, zero people to corroborate her version of the story. Nobody. She just made shit up. Not to mention she is a sexualized fruitcake who fantasizes about rape. So between her ears, it must have happened, right? People like Rosie O'Donnell and Hillary Clinton. These are Democrats, and that is what they do. Oh, not to mention they attack you and attack me. MSNBC is continuing to attack Elon Musk. And they're even saying that they need collective action. Get this. This is amazing. They're so threatened by freedom and liberty because, well, with freedom and liberty, we can fight back. They need collective action, which means communist action, because they want people to stop using Twitter X. Literally, a mainstream media source is so threatened by Elon Musk and Twitter X that they are telling their viewers, stop using Twitter X. The headline should actually read, give up thinking so MSNBC can fill your mind with crap. That's what it ought to say. It ought to say that. I mean, they're so ridiculous. They're so stupid, right? That even their old-time fruitcakes are sounding reasonable. And I point to, at the end of the show here, none other than the extreme flamer, Elton John, right? And you would think that as a very vocal, high-level celebrity homosexual, Elton John, you would think he would hate Trump. Well, all he said was in reference to Trump using his song Rocket Man as a nickname for Kim Jong-un of North Korea. He says, I thought it was brilliant. Good on you, Donald. Right? It is these youthful, idiotic, anti-American communist scumbags in the Democrat Party. They don't even, I mean, perhaps someone should give Elton John a call and go, yo, EJ, take the dick out of your mouth and start thinking about this. Donald Trump's your enemy. Don't you know he wants to destroy you and make being homosexual a death penalty offense? They'll lie and say anything. This is where we're at, folks. We are at war. The Democrats have declared war. They are invading the country. They have invited in mercenaries. They are violating our rights at every turn, at every level, over anything and everything. And what are you going to do to stop them? What are you going to do to protect yourself? What are you going to do about it? I say the very first thing you do is get prepared. Get prepped. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense with your plan. Because chance favors the prepared mind. Aren't you glad you're a prepper? Share, folks. Help people learn. Share the internet address on this video. Get the word out. People need to get prepared. And they better wake the hell up before it's too late.